I have a feeling that the industry is captured by a bunch of woke, not a bunch, but like a sort of
like two
decent sized minority of like woke, entitled, virtue signaling, like fake visionary writers and directors and actors. And they're like, this woman that got up on stage today basically saying from the Screen Actors Guild that fans should like, they're demanding fans support them because we owe allegiance to them because they make our lives better.
Yeah, there it is. It's a celebrity culture, man. Their egos, dude. They think that they're essential now to the world.
This is, I'll set this up. This is just the SAG announcing their strike and whatever. And the lady on the left is the leader of this. I can't remember her name. Hannah something. She's answering a question from a journalist asking about, what do you think of the fans, whether or not they're going to be upset because their favorite show or whatever is going to get delayed or potentially canceled and all this. Or do you have any, empathy with like the fans, like, and the fact that you're just kind of shutting the industry down? And this is her response. It's pretty funny. I'll play it quick.
So let's finish it up with, what is your message to the fans and consumers who aren't interested in the nuance that we're discussing here today? They just want their favorite TV shows, or they want to go to the movies.
Well, what makes you think they're not interested in what's happening here? I think that they have an allegiance to all of us because we bring joy to their lives. We bring entertainment to their lives. And during COVID, they turned to us for everything. So
that's Fran Drescher.
Yeah.
It's who?
Fran Drescher.
Okay.
The nanny?
The nanny.
Yeah. Oh, the nanny.
Yeah. She's got that really annoying voice.
Over the summer
is
the bottom line, when the people that give so much to them and enrich their lives in so many ways are saying we are being taken advantage of in a terrible way. And if we let this happen to us, dollars for donuts, it's going to happen to you and your family, your
dollars
children,
for donuts,
and everybody that you work with too. That's how threatening this moment is in our nation's history.
Okay, holy fuck. Okay.
These fucking people, dude.
Yeah, that's a little dramatic.
Tell me you're disconnected from reality without telling me you're disconnected from reality.
Yeah. Seriously. Now, it's hard to know what she's talking about, but if this was only about artificial intelligence, which is part of the, I'll bring this up. This is an interesting, if you haven't done this already, you should do this. You should go to the WGA on strike website, click campaign WGA proposals. And this is, you can read the individual, what they want, and what they want on the left, and what on the right is what the studios either are offering, or like some of them say rejected proposal. And it you can go down and judge for yourself based on what, whether or not you think they're asking for too much. Some of this stuff is artificial intelligence. The fact that, let me try to explain this as to how I understand it. Television shows used to be 24 episodes on cable back in the day, whatever. They would run for half a year, right?
20 to 20.
You would have a job, you would have you would get hired for a show, and then you would do the whole season, and then you would get hired for the next season, and it was a sort of a pretty standard way of living in Hollywood as a writer. Now, when you have streaming services, right, that are shrinking their shows to 6 to 8 episodes, and then a lot of those shows are getting canceled.
Yeah.
You suddenly have a bunch of writers in Hollywood who are kind of, worried, I guess, that they don't have they don't have the security blanket like they used to, in terms of like moving out to Hollywood, getting into the industry, not having to worry about, looking for work elsewhere. So there's that part of it. And then how do you do you empathize with that at all? And then I'll let the panel take it away in a second. But do you empathize with that at all, or how much of that do you balance with, okay, but they're giving us horrible content. The shows are being canceled because they're not performing well. So essentially this entire strike is throwing merit out the window. If you look at all this shit, there's a bunch of quotas that have nothing to do with whether or not they're doing a good job. How do you balance those things with the fact that it would be frustrating to try to make it as a career in Hollywood as a writer in this new streaming standard? I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on some of that stuff?
Dude, they're just complaining that they're not adaptable. If this is completely, it's completely self-inflicted, and this is why this is on a bigger scale. Dude, I mean, I'm not alone in this. Unions are the stupidest thing ever because it totally negates the market dictating how much your job is worth, and it inflates these people like the self-importance of their job. Again, like I said before, there's a million people that could do your exact job who are going to be more than enough like to the standard of adaptability they need to switch from a 24 episode season down to an 8 episode season, and they'll go find work somewhere else. Maybe it's beneath you or whatever, like a toothpaste commercial or even a traditional job. I don't know, dude, who cares? Go work some manual labor in the summer if you have to. But something tells me they don't even need to do that. Like, these people are living the high life.
Well, even if they're not, like what these companies want, and it's very obvious when you look at what they're offering, that they're going to pay you based on what you produce. And they're making these offers to them based on what they've seen over the past couple of years. Like you said, you go from shows that are 20 to 24 episodes in length down to 6, and those are getting like, you can't even keep a proper narrative for 6 episodes or hold people's attention for 6 episodes. Then they're not gonna pay for it. They don't need to pay for it. I'm not going to pay. Like, every single business knows who their producers are. Those are the people who get compensated. The other people, they just run their course, and when they start feeling they just leave. And this is what they want to do. I hope that these companies, the production companies, hold their ground and don't bend to their will, because they will weed out so many people, and they'll have to go work a construction job, learn the code or whatever. And then they'll start getting people who are really passionate and are good storytellers. Because right now, any idiot with a pen in their hand is getting a job, and it's obvious from what we've seen.
Yeah, well, even the actors too. I think we just have an abundance of these actors that and this is like a dream job. This isn't like, hey, dude, I'm doing this job just to put food on the table. Now you're screwing me in this other way. Like, I don't like being a iron worker, and I'm probably shaving off years of my life doing this, but it pays well, and now you're going to screw me again. That's something different. This being an actor, besides whatever you do on the casting couch, which that's on you if you want to take that whatever personal risk. But this is a dream job, and pretend like there's somehow victims for being treated this way is, it's laughable. And also to think that they want you to think that you make their lives better. It's like, yeah, right. Most of you make my life hell watching the content you put out recently.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's such an ignorant statement. It's like, some of you do, like some of you genuinely, film is my main hobby. So of course I'd be lying if I was like, oh, my life isn't enriched by some good movies and television. But this fucking, okay. Shags was just saying they're handing out jobs to anybody with a pencil. Okay. Yeah. This thing, right? I called her. Okay. First of all, this thing was, I'll just summarize what she was saying. Basically that Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh are a 20-year age gap. So it's inappropriate in a Hollywood movie. Talking about Oppenheimer. Oh my God. And she was saying, I'm on strike now, but when I get back to work, I'm gonna fix this.
What does she do?
This is a writer on strike currently. This is a current writer on strike. Now I was like, why are you triggered by a 27-year-old playing a real person? Oh, I don't want to spoil Oppenheimer. Oh well. And then why are you shaped like a large gay asteroid? Have fun doing nothing. Yeah, have fun doing nothing but eating and tweeting retarded shit on your writer strike. So the point is, why is this person on strike? Like, my main point is they're making the industry that they work for look stupid. And I guarantee you other writers saw that thread about Cillian Murphy. And I got actors like in the union who are on strike liking my tweets about that shit. And they were like, this is ridiculous. Like, people like this shouldn't be in our industry. But look, she's got the pink hair, and she's large. So therefore, minimum quota, she's got to be on the set of a movie every 3 weeks.
Yes.
And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it is partially a combination of too many people think they can be a Hollywood writer. And then the other issue is way too many fucking shows are being produced that shouldn't be being produced, and films that are tanking, and shows that are getting canceled, It's oversaturated. It's like just overkill. It's overkill of people that have no merit whatsoever inserting themselves into an industry and then saying that they're valuable.
See,
And that we owe them an allegiance.
Doesn't it make you wonder how, like, there's some real talented people in the industry. Listen, Christopher Nolan and Cillian Murphy are among them. But like you said, Cillian Murphy allegedly walked out mid whatever to make a picket sign. And I read that same news, by the way, from Screen Rant, the most dependable news source on the internet. But I read the same thing. Rant. Yeah, I know. But either way, I did see it. Do you think they legitimately support this stuff, or is that all for show? Because like in a perfect world, you would have these people that are obviously talentless and meritless, and they can form their own little union bubble and go strike whenever they want. But the people with real talent would see themselves above it. They clearly don't need it, like Joaquin Phoenix. These guys, they don't need to be a part of this stuff. But it makes you wonder if they really buy into it or not.
Here's what somebody that I know who works in the industry mentioned that, two people actually, that that essentially these people, the WGA gets a bad rap for being like very demanding and entitled, and that a lot of these people are kind of upset about it, like other people in the industry. But they can't say anything, because if you say anything against, if you vote if you don't agree with them and you don't strike with them, or if you break the picket or whatever line, you get called a Nazi and then you get dogpiled and all this stuff, and they have no choice really to do that. But also a lot of these WGA writers are like terminally unemployed. Like they have no value on the planet, and their only value is to bully their way into the industries, and then use their pronouns as like some sort of like shield against any kind of like criticisms against their belonging or their merit, their writing. Well, so apparently, like you're right. Apparently, these people like Matt Damon or all these different actors are probably not on board with this shit, and they just want their movies to get made, and they probably want the industry to what's the word? Purge a lot of these people. That's probably the best.
I want to hear him say it so bad. I hope you're right. I want to hear him say it so bad, dude.
Hollywood's been a victim of its own success, because when you look back at the golden age of television and all these shows that, there weren't, I mean, everything was like a banger. So they just thought like, okay, well, let's just keep doubling down on TV. And I mean, it's exactly what happened. And then with the streaming services just made all that easier. So they thought they needed all these people. And now it's very obvious that it hasn't worked. Like it became quantity over quality. And now they're trying to revert back to that. But in the meantime, ESG has taken over, and now all these quotas that have been filled, for writers and, like it's a whole mess, and it's all been made by them. Like, I don't feel bad for Hollywood at all. They did it to themselves, but they need to find a way to like reel it in.
Oh, this is the worst thing. Okay, first of all, pre-greenlit room, show that hasn't even been greenlit yet. There's no money flowing in. Minimum staff of 6 writers.
For what?
for a show that hasn't been greenlit, 1 writer per episode. And then here's another one. Minimum staff guaranteed at least 10 consecutive weeks of work for a pre-greenlit show. A show that hasn't even been greenlit, and they're just kind of testing the waters. They want to be paid for a minimum of 10 consecutive weeks, and they want a minimum of 6 writers per show. Whether or not they need 6 writers, they could figure it out with 3 writers, but no, you have to have 6. After 4 weeks, they could be like, oh, this is not working. This show's kind of shitty, and we're not going to go through with it. But no, you have to pay them for 10 consecutive weeks. All these things are these stupid quota demands.
But what does that even mean? Like 10? Like what is that? A full 8-hour workday? So 6
that's
people
what I'm saying, dude.
8 hours a day? There's no way that's happening.
Look, the studio rejected their proposal. Here's what they're probably thinking. They're probably thinking, dude, we've been getting away with 3 writers for 5 weeks for a long time now, and some of these shows, and that's how we're fine with it, and some of them are working, some of them aren't. But you're not gonna like blackmail us into hiring 3 more writers to sit there in the corner and like drink their lattes and do yoga while the other 3 writers are like doing their work, like when you don't need it. Like, it's stupid.
From what little work I've done in like the film industry, it's a lot of times it's a massive waste of money. Like there's people standing around just holding shit. And like I was even watching, there was a clip that was released from Deadpool 3, where like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are like doing some like stunts or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's a guy walking behind the cameraman just to put a box under him so he can sit down. Like that's someone's job. Like someone gets paid
Yeah.
for that. Like that's
Yeah.
it's unbelievable how much it's like a government run issue. Like there's so much wasted money in film.
Well, I actually heard an actress say this in one of these actors roundtables. They're actually fun to watch. You go on like I think it's Hollywood Reporter. They can't do these anymore, but it's a bunch of actors. They sit around, talk about stuff, and then they talk about their like Brendan Fraser was talking to Stephen Yeun and the guy who played Elvis. But somebody said that one of the main issues is that these writers are working like 3 months out of the year because that's all the time the show goes for because it's a shorter season. And instead of looking for work the rest of the year like everybody else does in the world, they want to be paid a career salary so they don't have to do that because it gives them too much anxiety.
Holy shit.
Like, they straight up
Oh,
said that.
I don't even feel bad for those people. Like fuck them. Like sorry, but like
They're prostitutes. They're gig workers, dude.
Yeah. And
Oh.
it's wild.
I was going to ask something. You just said
Oh, go
something,
ahead.
Gator, about a gig
Go
work.
ahead.
Why is there
Yeah, dude.
never anything like that for like musicians? Like they run gigs. They they get paid to do like a tour. They have their own kind of if it's a band, they have their own kind of contract set up there or whatever. I don't know.
During
LLC or something.
COVID,
Yeah.
during COVID, they were musicians like gig workers. They didn't have to prove anything. They just had to file with certain states, and they could get like that massive unemployment check or whatever, like essentially the same way, just for claiming they were a gig musician or whatever. I think they maybe had to prove they owned an instrument over $2,000 or something like that, but that's all they had
Yeah.
to do. But yeah, under normal circumstances, that would never happen. And a lot of these musicians, dude, their tours are fucking like rigorous, man. And the
Oh,
record labels eat them up. They completely destroy them. Like it's not even fair. Actors are pampered compared to those guys.
Well, they do. I was gonna say, like, I think I have a few friends in the music industry, and
Hey Zach, what's up, buddy?
there is, depending on your contract, like you can essentially get you can be on salary, but there's you're on the road, but you're also then you go and you record for like 2 months. Like there are salaries with being a musician, but the vast majority of musicians that are out there actually traveling aren't.
Yeah.
They're gig to gig. If something's not booked, they're not doing anything. And this is like every day, 5 or 6 days a week for 2 or 3 months straight, like across
It's a
multiple
lifestyle.
countries. Yeah,
It's a lifestyle.
but
And they don't want that. They don't want that. They're it is an entitlement thing. It's like, I wrote an episode of She-Hulk. I'm important. I should be living in a skyrise apartment downtown LA and working 3 months out of the year and then sitting on my ass and thinking, oh, I wonder when my agent's going to call me for another job. It's like, instead, no, just fucking do your own work outside of your own, like work for it. Work for your fucking apartment. in
Well, it
LA.
also doesn't help that they live in like LA, like most expensive area too. And I understand that's like, hey, I got to be somewhere to network with people. Face-to-face
Yeah.
interaction is important. But imagine if for some reason Hollywood all of a sudden was like moved to, I don't know, New Mexico or someplace like that, in the middle of nowhere where it's really cheap living. Do you think? I feel like they wouldn't have to be paid nearly as much, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're just trying to keep up
Sure.
with like the Joneses in LA, and it's like, well, everything's expensive, so you have to keep getting paid more and more. I don't know, why can't you work remotely? Send your scripts in that way. Zoom in,
Look,
live out in the middle of nowhere, live
It's-
the lifestyle of
it's
Uncle
true.
Ted, and then submit your script to Hollywood.
Well, Don
you
Boy, I
know?
was going to say, I think you're like, that's coming to an end for the most part. I think all these Hollywood complainers, I think it's going to die out in the generations to come because like everything is becoming more remote. Why do you need to network face to face anymore? I don't think you're going to need to do that with like social media becoming more and more prevalent. I doubt that the networking face to face will be as essential in the future. You can always fly out.
yeah, it's becoming less essential. But if COVID did one thing, it proved that a lot of these companies could be run at a fraction of what they were and a fraction of the
Yeah.
overhead.
Yeah.
And like for better or for worse, like that's what happened.
For better.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think you're ever going to see necessarily people like the face to face go away. I mean, especially in Hollywood. But I think this as a writer, you can do this job remotely. You don't need to be sitting in an office with people. You could do Zoom calls and go over like whiteboard shit. All that stuff is integrated online.
Shags, you're gonna get roasted for that because, well, you won't get roasted because nobody fucking Twitter. If you said that on Twitter, you would get roasted.
Why?
My point, because they're gonna say these people are demanding. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but they're demanding access. Here it is: 4 writer-producer credits, minimum of 6 staff writers. A writer-producer is somebody who works on set, and a lot of these people are complaining that writers need to be on set and have a writer-producer label title because it allows them to understand how the industry works. Then they can work their way up and become producers and directors. So their whole argument would be that they can't do this remotely. It has to be on location. However, I don't see why. I know what you're saying, and I feel like this is just asking too much. Like I feel like the industry can function without everybody and their mother and every fucking asteroid orbiting the planet Earth being pulled into the orbit of Hollywood. I think these people. I think it's just too bloated right now, and I think you're right.
This right now is like a death rattle, right? There's like, please, one more. I don't know how many long this negotiation after this, because when did the last one happen? I remember like Quantumos. Yeah, it was a while ago. I remember that James Bond movie came out around that time. It was complete trash. Yeah, it was really bad. But like, this is their last chance to like prolong the inevitable, because like that thread with Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver, they're talking about decentralized. And I think that's inevitable with technology emerging. You see people like Mr. Beast as an entertainer would have been able to come up from, legacy media through the proper ways and through nepotism in the Hollywood industry. But now, because he has talent and good ideas and there's avenues for them to actually succeed, they can do that. So I think hopefully emerging technology will just make this just like moot, and basically good people will rise to the top, as long as the algorithm isn't like whatever, taking that out of the equation for a second.
Yeah, I agree. Sketch brought up a good point earlier. I just wanted to hit this. The Bayonetta voice actress did something that he's referring to, which is she got exposed for demanding that she wasn't making enough money as a voice actress on this game. And it turns out she worked like four sessions that were like 4 hours long each, and she was demanding like a career salary for it. This exposed a lot of people because people had to apologize. They were defending her initially, and then it came out and they were like, whoa, like Moist Critical was like all on her butt, and she was like, they need to get paid more. And it turns out she worked like 16 fucking hours, dude, on the game.
Yeah. And it also comes down to contract negotiations that people, for whatever reason, they just think like, I'm just owed this amount of money. And it's like, well, like you're not owed anything really. But if you feel that you are owed something more, when contract time comes up, maybe you should negotiate maybe a little bit more, or some residuals somewhere, like whatever it is, maybe based on game sales or whatever it is. Like you're a gig worker, go out and get more gigs.
The residuals are a good thing because they're in the negotiations, and I agree with them. I think because of the fact that there's no more royalties on reruns, because we don't do reruns anymore. Mm-hmm. You can't get royalties on reruns of a show that airs 50 times in a year. You get one royalty for one lump sum for your streaming, and they don't count every time somebody watches it on streaming. It's a totally different. The industry is just completely different than what it used to be.
I agree with that. Like if the industry's moving, they once gave them royalties for reruns,
sure.
syndication. Yeah, they definitely should try to like modify it. They're like, dude, this is changing. We just got to change the rules a little bit to keep it consistent. 100%. I understand that part of it, but some of these other stuff that you're talking about, it's ridiculous.
They're asking too much. I would say you're right. Like focus on that. I would say focus on the bloat of it. Like fire all these fucking not useless people. Pay the good ones more.
You can't though.
Hire them,
unions, man.
Hire the good ones on multiple projects so they're not looking for work all the time. And stop bringing in, feminist, African literature studies, millennial or Zoomers out of college who wrote an essay one time and think that they can now like change the course of history with like some Disney Plus show.